Tonight, Saskatoon Public School Division cuts teaching jobs and starts charging fees for lunch hour supervision to balance the books.
Ground-penetrating radar has identified anomalies.
Ahead of construction of a new potential parkade at the General Hospital, an excavation will take place after anomalies were detected underground.
Hey, bear.
How close is too close to a bear? A wildlife photographer found out near Waskesiu.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, June the 8th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Saskatchewan's biggest school division is making hard decisions as it looks ahead to next school year. The school board for Saskatoon Public Schools has approved its 2022-23 budget, and there's another round of big cuts planned for the upcoming year. Kendall Latimer has more.
The board chair for Saskatoon Public Schools says she cried yesterday when she and others approved a new budget.
Every time we make a decision at the board table, the first question I ask is this good for students? And yesterday the answer was no.
But she says the school board had no choice and that this was the 6th year in a row that the division has not received enough funding from the provincial government. For the upcoming year, the school division is facing a $4.5 million shortfall. This means several staffing cuts, including 12.7 full-time equivalent elementary teaching positions and 6.9 full-time equivalent positions in secondary schools. There will also be cuts to the educational psychologist and speech-language pathologist programs. The school board is trying to recover some cash by having parents pay an extra supervision fee for their kids who need to stay at school during the noon hour. Low-income families will be exempt. For others, the cost will be $100 per student per year. Families with more than 2 kids who need supervision will only have to pay $200.
We're facing these pressures across the division, and they are not being recognized in our operating funding. And as a result, we continue to have to trim our operation, try and amalgamate, find efficiencies across the division. And every year it gets harder and harder. This is really, we're picking at bones that are already bare.
The Ministry of Education says it will work with school divisions in reviewing their expenses and monitoring the impact of proposed changes for classrooms.
It's got to be more than just funding their contractual obligation to teachers in the collective agreement and little else.
She says these cuts will be harmful to staff as they are asked to do more with less, and to students, especially students with complex needs. Kendall Latimer, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan's auditor says nearly half of all school divisions are vulnerable to cybersecurity threats. Tara Clement released part 1 of her annual report yesterday. She says an audit of school division system software found that its IT system was using outdated software as of August 2021. Clement says there are 13 school divisions that use a key financial system managed by a third party with identified system vulnerabilities. The Regina Public School system recently had to shut down its internet-based systems because of a cyber attack.
It's definitely something that when I talk to, various senior management across government and boards, organizations, it's definitely a top key risk. I agree, for government and many agencies, probably private too. So we'll continue to do work that probably determines where at the end of the day are they ready in the event they are breached, and maybe are they ready to try to prevent such attacks from even happening in the first place.
The audit recommended the Ministry of Education work with impacted school divisions to establish a process to monitor IT systems. The ministry says it expects school divisions to work with IT providers to ensure timely security reporting. The planning process for a new parkade at the Regina General Hospital continues, and with it, a discovery through electromagnetic surveying and ground-penetrating radar in the northwest corner of the parking lot. The province and the Saskatchewan Health Authority say it won't delay construction, but they need to figure out what's in the ground first.
Initial technical assessments with ground-penetrating radar has identified anomalies. that require further investigation.
And with that, Wednesday morning's announcement from the Saskatchewan Health Authority and provincial government went from what's next for this potential parkade to what is in the ground. Hospital staff have been asking for more parking for years, citing both safety concerns and availability. The parking lot was established in 1975. Prior to that, it was green space. And before that, well, history is murky. The first cottage hospital was opened on the RGH grounds in 1895. There was also a children's aid home in the vicinity. According to the City of Regina archives, construction of the Regina General Hospital as we know it began in 1909 and was completed 2 years later. The building had several additions in 1913 and 1927, with more to follow in 1949, 1966, and the late 1990s. That means there could be a number of possibilities.
We have buildings showing up in the 1913 fire insurance plans, and then our next evidence of what the site looks like is from the first adequate aerial photography, which is from 1947.
The 34-year gap means crews need to excavate here in the northwest corner of the lot around 13th Avenue and St. John Street. The SHA says it's working with the City of Regina to try to find solutions for the temporary parking reduction. Fences will go up soon and exploratory work is expected to take about a month. In the event that any human remains are discovered, the SHA and provincial government say they will work closely with partners on next steps. Morissette says they will also share anything of historical significance. The government insists the excavation will not stall the parkade's construction. The archaeological assessment, including on-site excavation, is included in the $750,000 budgeted this year for the parkade plan. The northwest corner was the only area that found anomalies.
We reviewed the entire parking lot of the entire hospital so that we have site options throughout it. So we're just going to continue down that path, making sure that we're in place to start procurement and then, of course, construction.
As for the timeline for actual construction shovels in the ground, that information is still to come. The mayor of Saskatoon delivered the annual State of City address today, and Charlie Clark says the city is at a crossroads. Business leaders from across Saskatoon gathered at TCU Place this afternoon to hear the mayor speak. Clark praised business leaders for riding out the COVID-19 pandemic. He says the upcoming downtown entertainment district and arena could revitalize the downtown, and says the complex that will replace the current SaskTel Centre is a huge opportunity for the city.
Well, it's our chance to really cement our role as the entertainment site, site for the province. These districts in many other cities have been real catalysts for downtown revitalization, and we know we have outdated facilities right now that run the risk of not being able to attract some of the big concerts and events here.
The city still hasn't revealed where the stadium could be located. A short list is expected to be revealed later this month. We have more details about a plan to bring a pro soccer team to Saskatoon, and part of the plan includes an open-air stadium and the launch of Saskatchewan's first Canadian Premier League team. Teresa Kleem has more.
The old horse racing venue in Saskatoon might soon look like this. That's at least the plan of Prairieland and its partners. They want to build a multi-use stadium in the city. The potential price tag is around $28 million.
That would be a full-blown stadium. That would be with 5,500 seats. It would be expandable, because we do anticipate that this is a generational facility, and we're not just building it for the group that's going to be here in the next 5 years, but we certainly hope that it will expand and grow as well.
Prairieland already has an anchor tenant for the stadium. The company owning the rights to develop a Canadian Premier League team in Saskatoon is on board with the project. Right now there are 8 clubs playing in the league, but the stadium and the city and the team would go hand in hand.
It's not a unique situation in that they need an anchor tenant. You build a new stadium for any sport anywhere, and you're going to look for an anchor tenant, or you're not going to do it. It just doesn't make sense. So we were a natural fit with Prairieland.
Fans might be able to watch the first soccer games in the stadium by 2024. Prairieland says it needs support from all levels of government, including the city of Saskatoon. But if and how much the city will be able to contribute is not clear yet.
Obviously, there's a lot of different capital projects, like I've mentioned, that we're trying to make sure that we can deliver on. We're not looking to spread ourselves so thin that we can't deliver on any of them.
Prairieland will present the project to the city next week. If the funding comes together, the stadium would not only be home to a pro soccer team. Organizers say the multi-use facility could also serve as a concert venue and playing field for other groups in sports, like rugby or cricket. Teresa Kleem, CBC News, Saskatoon.
We're just a few days away from our first official glimpse of the 2022 Saskatchewan Roughriders. The strength of the defense will play a large role in a potential championship run. The Riders may have parted ways with Micah Johnson, Ed Gainey and Lucius Purifoy, but they replaced that veteran leadership with Charleston Hughes, Darnell Sankey and Derek Moncrief. Two of the three have played with the Riders before, and one wishes he never left.
No, I don't really look at it as a comeback season. I don't even remember last season. That was in my past. So it's one of those things where it's like I put that behind me. I knew what I went through, and I know what I'm going to do here. So that's all I can look forward to.
It seems like it's more of a football city from what I've seen. Calgary fans are great. I'm not saying that they're not, but I've been feeling a lot of love since I've been here, and I love it. They've treated me well. They've welcomed me. And I have nothing but positive. So
the Riders host the Ticats Saturday night at the stadium. Game time 5 o'clock. It was a beautiful day out there in Regina at 23 degrees, just the right temperature to work outside or enjoy a stroll to check out the beautiful flowers at the Legislative Gardens in the Queen City. So, how are things looking for the rest of the week? Ethan will be back with his full forecast after the break. Stay with us. A Prince Albert wildlife photographer got a little too close to some wildlife last week. Curtis Matwishin spotted a young black bear in the forest near Waskesiu Lake. But when he followed the bear to grab some shots, the bear turned around and followed him. He credits his skill as a wildland firefighter and his bear safety training for helping him live to tell the tale. But he's hoping his now viral video can be used to educate others.
Hey, bear. It's okay.
The bear looked like he wanted to continue down the trail, so I actually stepped off of the trail to allow the bear hopefully to keep on going down the trail and past me. But when I stepped off the trail, it went off the trail as well and started following me. So that was at that point that I knew that I was in a different bear encounter that I had ever had before.
Whoa, bear. Hey. Hey. It's okay.
I actually just kind of stood my ground, started waving my arms, trying to make myself look as big as possible, and giving some loud hey bears. And again, the bear was unfazed, continued towards me just like I didn't do anything. So that's when I changed tactics, and I had my bear spray ready to spray at the bear, but it never actually did charge me. So that's when I started to retreat slowly.
Good bear. Good bear.
Yep, good bear. I was in a good position, and the bear got the closest that it had been, and I decided to let out a little spray.
Hey.
The spray worked as designed, and it was very effective, and it sent the bear running immediately, and I was able to get back to my car safe and sound. It's an interesting feeling. It's almost like time slows down and you're hyper-focused. And I'm lucky that I do have training in bear safety and bear encounters. So I was able to fall back onto my training. I was focused on the bear, focused on not tripping as I was walking backwards, just checking back whenever I could, and just focused on trying to get out of the situation safely and having a good outcome for both myself and the bear.
Matwishin says his fiancée was waiting in the car for him, and she was quite glad she didn't go along with him. He says he may consider a GoPro to keep his hands free the next time he ventures into the woods.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. The exclusive export event is back.
going to need a minute to recover from that story. When he said I was really focused on not tripping, that really resonated with me. So we're going to change the subject. Ethan's here. Let's look at the forecast.
Yeah, that's right. I've never encountered a bear in the wilderness. Don't think I want to, especially after that. Definitely don't think I could hold a phone and bear spray walking backwards. Now that's multitasking. Wow. Now that area where Curtis was up in Prince Albert National Park is still under an air quality advisory at this point from that fire at Stanley Mission. And we do have an update now from the Lac La Ronge Indian Band on that fire. Evacuations taking place for some people in that community. It's those with respiratory or cardiac conditions, children 5 and under, elders 65 and older, and those who are pregnant as well. It's not a general evacuation at this point, and the community is still safe. They're just doing it largely as a precaution, and people are being taken to Prince Albert and a few other communities that can take them in. Now, this comes as the fire risk turns to extreme in some parts of the north, especially along that western half, including the area where the fire is now. Much of the province still under a high risk. And the rain is falling, but it's not really falling in the areas where we need it to get rid of those fires. Pop-up showers this afternoon along the eastern side of the province, starting to move into Manitoba now. And tomorrow we do have a thunderstorm risk. First thunderstorm risk in a while now in the province. The best chance for severe storms in an area between Regina and Saskatoon along the number 11 highway corridor and down toward the international border, including Weyburn, west toward Moose Jaw. Could be some strong wind gusts, maybe some locally heavy rain and some hail in there as well. Now for tonight, that system is going to start to move in. We'll see some increasing cloudiness in parts of the south and central part of the province tomorrow morning, and then the system will be out of here by the time we get to tomorrow night. We do get some clearing. And then finally, we are watching a system that's going to move through central and northern portions of Saskatchewan on Friday. A good 5 to 10 millimeters as of right now, it looks like, for the north, where it has been very dry. Now, wind gusts will stay down as well, which will be good for the forest fire situation over the next day or so. They'll gust maybe up to 30, 35 kilometers an hour through much of the province. And then as that system moves in on Friday, we are watching them to pick up. So in the far north, we're looking at gusts between 40 and 50 kilometers an hour. And the southwest part of the province could see some pretty strong gusts too. They could get up to 60. In the Lloydminster area, we're looking for gusts up toward 50 kilometers an hour as well. But for the rest of the province, generally winds going to remain somewhat lighter. Now for the next 7 days, Regina looking again at that chance of storms tomorrow, high in the mid-20s. We'll see cloud cover stick around on Friday, but for the Rider game on Saturday, we do get some sun and some nice conditions. Mixes sun and cloud with some rain on Sunday, and Monday we're watching another system that could move in, which could bring up to 10 millimeters of rain. And then temperatures do cool down for the beginning of the next week. In Saskatoon, again, a chance of storms tomorrow afternoon. A nice Friday, Saturday with light winds and some sunshine. The rain moving back in as we head through the rest of the weekend, and a little cooler temperatures for the beginning of the week, Sam, but the next few days and for that Rider game looking pretty promising.
You know what? It can rain all at once during the week, and on the weekend it can be nice.
I agree. Nice conditions.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Well, all kinds of art can be found in the Queen City, but there are plans to increase Indigenous representation. The City of Regina just launched its first Indigenous Artist in Residence program. One artist will be given a part-time residency to create art, explore their practice, and connect with the community. This year's theme is Urban Indigeneity. Any First Nations, Métis, or Inuit artist of any medium is invited to apply for the program. You can find more details at regina.ca. We'll be back after the break. The federal government has named a person to work as a go-between for Indigenous communities in Ottawa. Kimberly Murray is the former executive director of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. She'll act on behalf of communities dealing with the discovery of unmarked graves at former residential school sites.
I look forward to meeting with you, coming to your communities, and hearing from leadership and survivors about the challenges communities continue to face in their tireless efforts of recovery, repatriation, protection, and commemoration. I am ready to hear about the unique barriers your communities have had and continue to have while doing this sacred work.
A key part of Murray's work will be recommending ways to strengthen federal laws and practices to preserve and protect burial sites. Marie says she will also work to dismantle colonial laws that obstruct Indigenous efforts to commemorate those who were victims of the residential school system. The chief of Cowessess First Nation says he's pleased Marie has been appointed to help coordinate the government's response to unmarked graves that have been found on residential school sites. Cadmus Delorme says this role will be extremely helpful when it comes to how the research data is being used and collected.
On the technical side, the radar penetrating system is pretty simple. It's scientific. The data collection. Right now, we're having a little challenge in who owns that data because we don't have the software to own it. You know, the radar penetrating system is on 4 wheels, most likely ours was, and it picks up 7 feet under of undisturbed soil, and then the data. So the technical side, Cowessess is in good hands. We have a good partnership, but I'm very cautious of how some nations and who's owning that data. Secondly, on the research side, we have to go into, in our case, Roman Catholic records. And the Roman Catholic Church has been pretty open with us. We're actually one of the first in there. So they are kind of just standing on standby and saying, here they are. And so we have now working with another records with the sisters or the nuns. And so we just need to make sure the interlocutor will open doors for us when doors are not being opened.
Chief Delorme says he looks forward to working with Marie and briefing her on what the process is at so far. He says survivors want justice, and he hopes this will ensure something is truly done about the wrongs that have been done. Leaders at the Summit of the Americas have begun work in Los Angeles. During his opening remarks, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken laid out the key issues that will be discussed, including health security, clean energy, and advancing democracy.
Much like the problems, the solutions are interconnected. And to be effective, they have to reach across borders. That's why we're here. That's really what it comes down to.
The Canadian delegation is expected to focus on climate change, gender equality, better economic integration, and trade. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau got to work on the climate change agenda today. He met with the Prime Minister of Barbados. The host of the summit, U.S. President Joe Biden, made his way to L.A. this afternoon. And Ethan is back with one last look at tonight's weather.
And it looks pretty warm and a little bit cloudy in Regina at midnight tonight, 15 degrees. And then as we get into tomorrow morning, as mentioned, that cloud cover is building in. We'll see wind gusts stay pretty light out of the south. We'll stay where we are at 15. We get to the noon hour, we warm up slightly, but we'll see a chance of showers as we get to noon in Regina. Those thunderstorms likely beginning in the afternoon hours after 3 o'clock if they do pop up. Similar conditions in Saskatoon tonight, cloudy and 15 degrees at midnight. The time we get to tomorrow morning, we warm up a degree and we'll see a chance of showers before getting to the noon hour. We could see the clouds clear, possibly some showers at noon hour. The winds do pick up a little bit and those thunderstorms build in a little later in the afternoon, Sam.
So pack some rain gear for coming home from work tomorrow night.
That's right. Not when you leave, though, to go.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And before we leave you, some stunning images of planet Earth to share with you. This spectacular footage of the blue planet was captured by astronauts aboard the Chinese space station. Several vantage points feature the beauty of the Earth as the station passed over it at different times of the day. Members of the crew captured the images during their 6-month mission before they returned home in April. Stunning. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Glenn Reed will be back with more local news at 11. We're back tomorrow at 5:30. Thank you for watching and have a great night.